Good evening and welcome again to Dr. Gregory Salters here. We're going to be talking about things dealing with law enforcement. I am an interim assistant chief in a law enforcement agency in South Florida, and it is very interesting to me. Hopefully, everyone is enjoying what is going on in their communities. Many of us have faced some things dealing with the pandemic. We're facing things dealing with our economic situation. But if you all have noticed, many times we're getting to know our neighbors a little bit more. We are speaking to each other a little bit more because we're all in this together. During our talk last week, we talked about what is an outstanding police officer. And we had a discussion defining what it is that we're looking for in outstanding police officers. I appreciate your feedback, because when we're looking out there and we're defining what an outstanding police officer is, that lets us know as law enforcement professionals what the community is looking for from us, lets us know what we should be looking for in individuals to join our ranks. And in the description, I thought about it. I said, you think about it. Many times we go places in our community. You may go to some grocery stores, and I don't know whether you all go to various grocery stores, but we have some grocery stores to where if you go in there and there are 3 people in line, they're going to have everybody in line bagging and ringing out groceries so that people can get through the line. You may go to another grocery store and people are just waiting there, and it's a lot of people around not really helping. You may ask them, gee, do you have a can of peas? And they'll say, I don't know. Another grocery store you go in, that other one, I think they have the color green in them. You go in there to ask them about some peas. They will not only point you to the aisle, they will walk you over to the aisle and show you the peas. That is customer service. That is what individuals like to have. If you've ever gone to some of the amusement parks and you go there, and some of your better amusement parks, one of them, they refer to it as a Disney Magic. You go in there and it's just a different feel that you have when you're in there and you see the people that are working there, no matter what they're doing. They don't seem to be upset. They seem to be happy. They seem to go along with what it is that's going on. And when I went through a training with them dealing with their customer service training, they said that they were asked, how do they get all of their employees to smile and be nice? They said very simply, they only hire smiling and nice individuals. If you've ever gone to some drive-through restaurants, there's one particular one that's out there, and you go to it, a Chick-fil-A, and you can go there and the line can be ridiculously long, but due to their customer service and their procedures, they get you through the line, and they tend to be generally pleasant when you're going through. So therefore, individuals will stay in line for that type service. And when you look at it, it's all about procedures. And when we look at certain things that we have in law enforcement that are there, you may look at it and we talk about it being procedurally just, procedural justice. What's the procedure for going through a shopping experience at your grocery store? What are the procedures for going through a drive-through and getting that Chick-fil-A sandwich? What are the procedures in your organization? Is it a welcoming experience when people interact with you or not? So from a law enforcement standpoint, we have the uniqueness of the public can't select who serves them. They have, in most instances, you may have some instances where sheriff's department versus city departments and the combining of forces or the individuals starting their own. But for a large part, you are subject to the law enforcement agency that was in your jurisdiction. So what I want to talk about today and now is, what is it that we actually deal with, and how do you actually go about hiring outstanding police officers? One of the things that we look at is that for you to hire, you must understand, one, what is it that your agency or this profession has to offer? Two, you must also understand, just like a salesperson, if you've ever gone out to buy something, that salesperson first asks you, as the customer or the person they're trying to recruit or sell to, what is it that you're looking for? How can I help you? So they begin to ask questions to find out what it is you're looking for, how they can help you, and how you can have a meeting of the minds and have a win-win situation. You become their customer. After becoming their customer, they are compensated. Many times you look at it from a law enforcement standpoint. Do we really let the public know what it is that we have to offer from a career standpoint? when we're talking to individuals, I've talked to many law enforcement professionals, and I'm included. I had never considered the law enforcement profession as an opportunity or an option for me until someone explained to me the various things that I could get into that I was unaware of. And they basically reframed the profession, which therefore made it appealing to me. Now, when you think about it, when you talk to individuals and you talk to them about law enforcement, my background is business. What did I want to do? I wanted to make an impact in the community. You talk to a lot of individuals that are in law enforcement, and many of them wanted to have an impact on their community. Does this profession provide that? Yes, it does. It does provide that. But now, when you look at it, most times, don't we leave it up to the various law enforcement agencies and largely their recruiting unit to do the recruiting? It's kind of interesting. When I work with law enforcement agencies, I'll often ask them, how large is your recruiting unit? Many of them will say 2, 3, 4, or maybe 5 people in their recruiting unit. And these could be law enforcement agencies up to the size of 1,000 individuals. I would like to submit to you, your law enforcement recruiting unit should include everyone, at a minimum, everyone that works for your agency, whether or not they are police officers and or your civilian staffing. That is who your recruiting unit is. Because I forget the gentleman's name, but what he said years ago, he said that everyone that is working in your agency is a walking commercial for your agency. So now, is that commercial causing people to want to buy into and join your team? Or is it causing individuals to want to stay away from your team? Because one, you look at it, let's look at it from a standpoint of know, like, and trust. Because now, does the community even know you exist? If they know you exist, what do they know you for? If you were to talk to your community and ask them, tell me something about the police department, because whether you realize it or not, we all have a brand. So if you ask individuals what they think about the agency, that will tell you the brand of the agency, and that brand can often help you or hurt you. If you look at a Rolls Royce, when is the last time you saw a Rolls Royce commercial? You haven't seen that commercial. Why? Because they build into it the exclusivity. They build into it a lot of other factors, and those that want it will seek it out. How many times have you known that there are various law enforcement agencies that don't really have to advertise a lot because they are being sought out? That goes back years. But if you look now with the staffing shortage that we have in many of our law enforcement agencies, all of us could stand to have more outstanding officers in our agencies. Are we doing what is necessary to make our profession appealing? Even in these tough times, this is still a rewarding profession. They still need us. And if you look at it, if you're looking at reallocations of funds and defunding of police officers, I'll use a slogan from the Marines: you need a few good men and women. So now, if we're making sure that those men and women that we have in our profession are outstanding, we can do a lot of good work. So without further ado, let's talk about it. How do we get outstanding officers? One, we need to let individuals know what we have to offer from a law enforcement standpoint. We also need to be partnering more and engaging more with our community, because our community knows individuals that would make outstanding leaders, outstanding individuals that would make an outstanding impact in our community. Also, when we're looking at law enforcement officers, are you just considering individuals that may have an interest in criminal justice or something like that? Or are you talking to individuals and finding out, if you're a business major, are you looking at how this can help you and how we could use their skills? Because one, as a business major, you're learning about business. You're learning how to run an organization. When you're talking about the reallocation of funds and defunding police, can you imagine if you've had a business major or an accountant that's sitting there that came in as a police officer that is now working in your budget and finance area? Then you've brought in that talent. If you don't understand that model, look at the FBI. You can't just go into the FBI with a minimum degree or your 4-year degree. Many times they're looking for individuals with law enforcement experience and looking for individuals with specific degrees, their law degrees, their accounting degrees. If we were to follow that same model, we'd add value to our local law enforcement, and then we would also increase the individuals that would be looking at us as a profession. Again, being outstanding. So that's the thing. Do they know us? How much have we engaged with the public, or have we gone out and done things in the public that causes individuals not to want to be in our profession? And one time I was talking to some individuals at an agency, and they were saying, man, my agency isn't any good. I told individuals to go to apply for another agency. And I said, wow, that's kind of interesting. Let's look at what you just did. You're at this agency, you're stating you need backup, and you know some outstanding individuals. So therefore, you're sending outstanding individuals that could be here helping our organization and being your backup, your support out there on the street, and you're sending them to another agency. I just didn't see if that was a well thought out plan. I would see it as a better thought out plan unless there's other things that were going on. This individual was still staying at the agency, but sending the outstanding individuals elsewhere. I said, think about what you're doing. You're expending energy to help another agency get outstanding individuals when that outstanding individual had basically stated they wanted to work with you. So we have to watch what we say, even if we are upset and we don't like the current situation. As they said, Mahatma Gandhi, I believe, said it, you need to be the change that you want to see. So if you want your agency to be outstanding, it all starts with you. It's kind of like Michael Jackson said, it starts with the man or the woman in the mirror. We have to look at ourselves and state, are we setting the example for individuals that we want to come on to our team? And when individuals come on to our team, do we help make them the best officer they could be, or do we leave it up to someone else? And when they aren't as outstanding as we want them to be, we talk about it. If we're truly a profession and we are our brother's keeper and sister's keeper, we need to be working and helping each other be as outstanding as we should be. So now we had the first one. They have to know us. So we have to be out there in the community. We have to be at the schools. We have to be in the high schools. We have to be in the elementary schools, in the middle schools. We have to go to these community fairs that they're doing, these career fairs, and share with them what we have as a law enforcement agency. Because many of them don't know the opportunities that we have. They only see a narrow view of law enforcement. And largely that's the patrol function, which is the backbone of any agency. But when you prove yourself in patrol and you prove that you can be an outstanding officer, the doors tend to open up and many other opportunities open. And a lot of things that are going to be opening in the future weren't even in existence when I came into law enforcement in '93. We didn't have the computer cyber crimes area when I came on. We're having those units now. So you have to look at it, come in, see what it is that you're all about, and let's make some things happen. Because that's the second stage. If they have to like us. So once they get to know you, then they get in and see what it is that we're doing. Are you really utilizing the various methods that we have to get into law enforcement? Are you out there with your youth with their Explorer programs? Are you growing that Explorer program where they begin to be so connected with your organization that they wish to become law enforcement officers? Have you been out there and you are then getting them through the process? Some individuals that I've had that were issues, sometimes they talk to me and say, do I have to be a U.S. citizen? They're here legally, but to be a law enforcement officer in most agencies, you have to be a U.S. citizen. So therefore, have you told them about the other rewarding professions within your agency where you do not have to be a citizen? They could work those jobs until they become U.S. citizens, until they become naturalized. So then what are you doing? You are dealing with your own succession planning, dealing with outstanding individuals, because what we're looking to do is we need to hire outstanding individuals. Why? Because with the proper training, they will make outstanding officers. And with outstanding officers, that means our organization will be outstanding. So therefore, we can deal with these issues that are out there. But many times we don't do the work that's necessary to hire the most outstanding individuals. You think about it. At your agency, is everyone going out and sharing the possibilities and sharing the good things and the rewards for being in the agency? That will help get you a long way with hiring some of the outstanding officers. Another thing that we could do, because that's the knowing, the liking, and then the trusting. Imagine when you have hired a lot of outstanding individuals and we're dealing with the community. Those outstanding individuals will help us build the trust and increase the trust that we have in the community and the community has with us. So now with that trust will come numerous things, because when you have that trust of the community will be having your back. So many things that are happening in the community now, they will be able to speak for the police department when we're unable to speak for ourselves. I know I have been involved in some incidents in my career, and many of them, when I've been in those situations, I've had it to where the community has come to my aid both physically and administratively. So when you treat the public well, the public will return that, generally speaking. People are going to say, well, no, not all the time they're doing it. Well, nobody does everything all of the time. But I would like to err on the side of caution, and I would like to take, when they go low, I go high. So therefore, we have to look at it. Are we being outstanding? Also, we must look at our policies internally within our organizations. When you look at our policies, are there certain hurdles that are within our policies to hiring individuals? If so, we need to critically review those policies and or hurdles. We look at it. Some of the ones that I look at is when we talk about having to pass the swim test to submit our background and our applications to agencies in Broward County. Well, I look at that as a hurdle, and I look at it for a lot of different reasons. But then when you look at it, the reason that we have it that's being stated is that we want to make sure that officers can at least save themselves if they fall into water due to the amount of water that is around here. So I'm the type of individual, you give me the rules, no problem. So what do we need to do? We need to work with individuals to help them pass the swim exam, provide them the type of tutoring, the encouragement, and give them the reasons that they need to do it. And you can also be transparent and share their stories. If any of y'all have ever had a teacher, when you really connected with them was when they began to be transparent and they shared some of their heartaches and some of the things that they've gone through with you. Personally, when I tried to get into law enforcement in '93, I submitted my criminal justice basic aptitude test. I received 100 on that one. However, I could not pass the swim test. The swim test at that time was 100 yards and tread water for 5 minutes immediately thereafterwards. I could not pass that test. I kept practicing and practicing and practicing. I go out there, I said, but I wanted this job. So I did what I had to do. And there were two other agencies that did not have the same swim test as that one. They had swim tests. So I went to those agencies. I failed that a couple of times. But you know, when you know what your mission is and you want something so bad, you will do whatever it takes legally to get that opportunity. So through a lot of work, a lot of prayer, a lot of preparation, just like anything, I don't know about you all, but when you graduate high school, graduate college, some graduate cum laude, some graduate o laude. Bottom line is you graduated. So long story short, I was able to pass the swim test that my agency had. And here I am 27 years later, sitting and serving as an interim assistant chief. So I know there are a lot of other stories that are out there that are like that. And sometimes when we share our struggles with others, it helps them get over their hurdles. And particularly when we're going to mentor them, support them, and say, we really need you on this team. And one of the things we have to do also is look at individuals that had not considered this career. So many times we'll only look at those individuals that were in criminal justice or majoring in political science, but realizing there is no major that is required for this particular profession, we can train anyone to do the skills and the knowledge and provide the knowledge, skills, and aptitudes necessary to do our job. We just can't train you to be a decent person. That's one of those things where we have to hire decent people. We have to hire outstanding people. Just as Disney stated, how do you get everybody to be smiling and nice? Those are the only people you hire, smiling and nice individuals. So when we're looking for individuals, we have to hire those individuals that are outstanding individuals. Then we talk about it. That's the hiring of them. Now, imagine what happens if you're an outstanding individual and you're being held to standards and you see that there is some sense of accountability. You have no problems with that. But sometimes if you hire an outstanding individual that is all about accountability, and we as a profession or as an organization and or a smaller unit do not have that same accountability, that individual will feel different. They will not feel welcome. They will not feel comfortable. And then we'll be having problems retaining those outstanding individuals. So we have to make sure that we are procedurally just when we are recruiting individuals, when we bring them into our organization, when we're going in the organization. Is our entire organization welcoming of the new officers? That's one thing when you talk about being culturally competent about law enforcement agencies, what goes on at different agencies, and just that group mentality. And we talk about law enforcement and thin blue line. I look at it kind of like if you're on a football team, if you are a fan of whomever your favorite football team is, and someone else says something about it, you're just being defensive just because of natural group theory. So a lot of times that comes into play. But if we're really to go to that next level and have outstanding officers, as law enforcement officers, we also need to be able to talk to one another and say, if we see someone doing something that can tarnish the badge, or that you can see that they're doing something that might not work out well for them in the end, it's our responsibility to at least let them know. I don't know if you should do that. And we aren't talking about the obviously illegal things, because when you look at ethics and the whole ethics, you'll learn that there's a slippery slope in ethics. Things start out kind of small. There might be where things will happen and you don't include it in a police report. It's not that you lied about it, you just omitted it. That's called an error of omission. And things go down from there until you get all the way down to things that are more severe. But if you have an outstanding agency with outstanding individuals, then we will be able to better police ourselves. We'll be able to understand that it's bigger than us. And we understand that we represent not only ourselves, but we represent the organization that we work for and our profession. So we have to deal with that. So once again, the community has to know us. The community has to like us. Community has to trust us. And once you get that know, like, and trust, now you are able to go over there and start recruiting those outstanding individuals. Okay, I see Brother Charles Ivy has joined us, so thank you for joining us. Well, when we look at it, let us know, what do you think we should do to recruit some outstanding individuals? And you will notice that what we would do to recruit outstanding individuals in law enforcement is the same that you would do to recruit outstanding individuals in any profession. You have to find out what it is that they're looking for and see where it is that a match for what it is that you have to offer. But many times they don't know what it is that we have to offer. So we're looking for outstanding individuals. Outstanding individuals are looking for the opportunities that we provide, but we aren't sharing the information and they aren't coming to us. Right now, in these troubling times to where it is not as favorable to be a law enforcement officer, I tell people, no matter what is happening, I've been through these cycles in law enforcement where it was definitely not favorable to be law enforcement. Then you ride the wave to where, yes, everyone wants to be a law enforcement officer. You have to think about it. What is your life philosophy? What is your personal mission statement? And I've shared it with you all previously. My mission statement in life, my philosophy, if I can help somebody as I pass along the way, my living will not be in vain. So when I look at that as my mission statement, I looked at this profession. I said, can this profession be consistent with what my vision and mission statement is of my life? And yes, it can. There's no other profession that I know of where I personally can have as big as impact as I have from being a law enforcement officer. And does it have its dangers? Yes. I don't know many professions that don't have a danger. But now when you're actually sitting down, talking with individuals, right now, more than any time in our history, we are needing to have outstanding men and women in law enforcement to be out there protecting our community, protecting our civil rights, protecting our property, engaging us, helping us get to the next level, helping our community improve. So what are we going to do to make sure we have those outstanding officers? One of the things we also do is when you have a bad officer, and I'll go back to my old algebra teachers, whatever you do on one side of the equation, you must do on the other. Whenever you have a bad law enforcement officer, I always tell individuals, if you have something that's going on that's officers doing that is negative, be sure to send an email, send some correspondence that creates an audit trail. If you don't know who to send that to, you can always send it to your city manager, the police chief, or both. And they will make sure that it gets to the proper place and it will be investigated as it should be so that we can make sure that we have facts that come out. That's what happens on bad officers. What do you think should happen if you have an outstanding officer? So the same thing should be stated when you have an outstanding officer. If an officer does something that is outstanding, you should do the same thing. You don't know who to send it to your city manager and the police chief. They will make sure it gets places. I don't think many people really understand how much that plays a role in that officer's career. If you're always getting negative things sent to the city manager and the police chief, a lot of times we begin to look at things. Many agencies have early warning signals when there's been excessive use of force, when there's been too many speeding, when there've been too many complaints, to where, well, wow, something may be happening if we're having all of these issues with this one particular officer. So we begin to put things in place to look into it a little bit more to see if there's something we should do. On the other side of that, if there's something that's going on that is just so outstanding, when it comes time for that officer to put in for a lateral transfer and or a promotion, those things will come into play. And that can help that individual get that seat position. But what happens so many times is we will write and notify when things happen that are bad, but we won't write and notify when things happen that are good. So therefore, sometimes your most outstanding officers will not have the recognition that others do about the good work they've done because it's just their norm. And the thing about many of us in law enforcement, we don't really do our job for accolades. So sometimes you may even send that officer an email, and that officer may not send it to their supervisor. It may not ever make it to their personnel file. So it may not ever have assisted them the best that it could be. And I work with officers a lot, and I've asked them, I say, how many times has someone from the public sent an email to you telling you thank you for some work you've done and out in the community? And they say lots of times. I ask, how many times have you forwarded that to your supervisor so they would know that and it's been included in your evaluation? Many of them have not done that. Those are missed opportunities. So we have to be better at that. We have to go over there and really reach out. We have to do what we have to do to recruit outstanding individuals. When they're within our agencies, we need to do what we have to do to retain them. And this is when we say this is all a community effort. When we talk about this, it's not only inside the agency. We can see work done by outstanding officers. There's nothing in many times that precludes us from recognizing officers for their outstanding work as well. And the same thing with the community. If you're having bad cops and you're wanting outstanding cops, let the community, let the agency know. The one thing that I found out when I was supervising our school resource officers, and I often said it, if I walk on to a certain school and the principal sees me and doesn't say that you can't have my school resource officer, then that school resource officer is not doing his or her job. They should make themselves so valuable that the administration, the student body, and no one wants to see them leave the school. If they have not done that, then they're really not doing their job. So we have to look at it. How many times is it that you think about it? You have officers and you're like, man, I just really want that officer to be in my neighborhood. Have you written letters and emails to let the agency know how outstanding that officer is? And think about it. We do our job. And so imagine what impact that will have on that officer. You write it, they get acknowledged. They're like, wow, somebody recognized the work that I've done. Do you think they will work harder for you or less for you? Same thing happens when I was talking with the school, and it was after a tragedy at one of the schools, and they were saying, wow, how does that school get so many officers to be over there at the school now? And we don't have that many officers. I said, again, perception. I said, because right now that school is looking at you and wondering how did they get a major to be on their campus? Well, I was there because of relationships that we had built. I was there because they had invited me to be there. At the other school, I'd be willing to bet you those officers were out there because there was a relationship that they had out there. Perhaps their kids went to that school out there, so therefore they were there. So what relationships are you building so that therefore your school, your home, your neighborhood can increase its chances for having an outstanding officer? So the more outstanding officers we hire, the more outstanding supervisors we will have, the more outstanding administrators we have, and thus the more outstanding service we'll have as we know, like, and trust our community. I'd like for each of you all, if you would, in the comment section, just put down things that you think that we should do to go over there and increase the number of outstanding officers that we have in our law enforcement profession. I'm just going to type it in here. So what should we do to recruit outstanding officers? From a profession, we're looking for opportunities. We're looking for ideas. We're sincerely trying to go out there and make sure we have the best possible officers serving our community. That is what is great for all of us. Because if we have the most outstanding officers, you think about it. That means if we have crime, these outstanding officers will be working professionally with the community, with all of our resources to get the criminals off of the street, which means our quality of life will go up. When you talk to individuals out there in the community and you talk with various agencies, any of my law enforcement professionals that are on this live tonight, you think about it. Your most outstanding officers are the ones that are the most engaged with the community. When I say outstanding, look at the crime in their area. If they're in the detective bureau, look at their uniform crime report. Look at how many cases they're solving compared to everybody else. Most times it will be your most engaged officer, your most engaged detective that will be solving your crimes. So now, aren't those the type of individuals you would like to have on your team? And I've seen it happen where, just like in sports, you have a superstar that's at one agency, the superstar goes to another agency. If they have been true superstars and not claiming the work of others, they will keep up that same path and their outstanding work will follow them from agency to agency. That is what you're looking for. You have outstanding law enforcement professionals. So when you see all these negative things that are out there, let's start talking about our positive, because it's kind of like you get what you measure. So if we begin to measure and to appreciate and to recognize the outstanding officers, then we will be able to hire more of those outstanding officers, because many times individuals just want to receive a thank you and just want to be recognized for the hard work that they're doing. So once again, I ask you, what are some things that we should do? How do we recruit an outstanding police officer? Let's think about it. When you're out there talking with individuals, one of the hardest things we also have in recruiting is I was talking to individuals and the individual themselves were very excited and wanted to join the profession. However, due to lived experiences of family members, looking at concerns for them and everything else, many times those family members talk them out of becoming law enforcement professionals. And then again, you must look at your various cultures on who you're wishing to recruit, because normally in the Black and brown families, that family connection and the input of the family is weighed very, very heavily, where it may not be weighed as heavily in other communities, just because of the Afrocentric versus the Eurocentric view, where in the Black and brown family, they're more communal, you'll find, and it's a we kind of community, and the European is more of an I. And that's dealing with the psychological makeup when you start dealing with cultural studies and cross-cultural counseling, learning the differences. And so when you're dealing with the various cultures, you must understand the culture of the individuals that you are trying to recruit. So many times, if you go into the Black and brown family, you're not only recruiting that officer, you're recruiting their family. So what have you done to make their family seem at ease? Do you need to have more family nights? Do you need to have more discussions with the family on what to expect as a law enforcement officer? Many times some agencies are doing those and are having family nights to make the families more comfortable and to understand what it is we do as a profession. That also helps us get outstanding officers. So as I stated, I'd love to have the conversation. We need to continue this dialogue. We need to see, what do we need to do to have outstanding law enforcement officers? We need to talk to individuals at a young age. Do not go out there and get things messed up in your background. The traffic tickets, the small misdemeanors, your open containers, and these type things. You have to start watching those things, and so that you don't have those issues as being a hurdle to you coming into our profession. So once again, I am Dr. Gregory A. Salters, and you all have been seasoned for success. Be sure to visit my YouTube channel. Also link with me on LinkedIn, and be sure to like and subscribe on the LinkedIn, and join me here on the Facebook pages. I look forward to adding value to you so that we can all go from where we are to where we wish to be. Y'all have a great night.